What's going on with the Wolf? And we back with another episode of The Couch. And today we're going to be joined by a licensed therapist. I'm extremely excited to have this conversation with Miss Rhonda Boyd. And yeah, don't go nowhere. But before we bring Miss Rhonda Boyd out, y'all going to be in for a treat of some poetry from the one and only T Sleeveless. So hope y'all enjoy. We see y'all back soon. The Wolf Hour. Then we getting into it. Let's go.
Love in 10 easy steps. 1, the first thing you're probably going to ask me is where I got these scars, but I'll come back to that later too. This one girl I was with would tell me all the time that her worst fear in relationships is betrayal. And unfortunately, my arms aren't long enough to reach into the past and remove the knife that she's sticking to my back, so the question I'm left with every day is what was worse, the fear or the reality? Projection is one hell of a way to hide your intentions. 3, somebody asked me the other day what my relationship with myself was looking like, and how can I explain that my reflection don't even talk to me the same without sounding insane? So I responded, well, it's complicated. 4, it really doesn't matter how much I hit the gym, does it? I will never be strong enough to hold the love I have for you and my guard up at the same time. What's eating me alive is that you knew we were not on the same sheet of music, but you didn't stop singing. 5, I get stuck in the same patterns, loving the same person in different bodies, doing the same things and expecting different results. 5, I get stuck in the same patterns. When life makes me nervous, I do the same things because the familiarity is kind of comforting. If it's going to hurt, at least the pain has the same nicknames. 5, it's pretty hard to break cycles if you're not aware of the patterns. 5, I get stuck in the same patterns. 5, break the patterns. 5, break the patterns. 5. Every day, I write a poem called Tomorrow. It's a piece about everything I have to look forward to for the following day. I sit at the center of a million white pages that I've written on with white ink, and I wonder how much whiteout I'm going to use today. 6, I think the bravest thing you can do is love somebody with your whole body, to give your whole self openly, comfortably, frantically, anxiously, regrettably. I think the stupidest thing you can do is love somebody. It was a late night, like what you think a man and his woman is doing this late after an open mic type late night. I drove her home, and right before she went inside, she turned and said, I know your name doesn't have anything to do with your clothing, so what does sleeveless really mean? My anxiety was outside the car in its 800th push-up. He's pretty strong. She kissed me really slow. Tell me, please. And now she's a stranger with one of my best kept secrets. 7, I'm almost convinced that the only way to have a connection with somebody is if there's strings attached. Maybe the length of your love depends on how clueless your puppet is. My mama said to never fight with a crazy person because from a distance you can't tell the difference. 8, I thought I was smarter than this. Maybe I didn't see it coming because there was nothing to see coming at first. Maybe your intentions were pure up until they weren't. I want to say I love you, but I can't because you won't. I want to say I hate you, but I can't because I don't. I can't hate people. I don't hate you. I hate what you did. Hate how you didn't care how what you did made me feel. 9, this list only goes up to 10, so pay attention because I won't say it again. 10, I lied about that last line. Just remember, if they did it once, they would do it again. 11, please. Don't let these butterflies turn to dotted lines. I've been here too many times. I'm not sure I'll survive another trip inside my mind. Let me rephrase, I won't trip if you make your way inside my mind, but I won't survive the trip if you decide to go back outside. Let me rephrase, if you come inside my life at this exact moment, place, and time, and then decide to not reside, then I will kill you before I let you fly in any direction except for mine, because love, by textbook definition, written out by Satan, is getting drowned in a lake of molten lava, infested with piranhas, then airlifted by helicopter with a blind pilot, just to be thrown overboard and into the sky, and shot 1,000 times by a skeet shooter named Cupid. His aim always reckless, random, and ruthless. I hit the ground, nearly dead, with a broken heart, misaligned spine, and sprained leg. I stand and learn to dance despite the bullets. I stand and try to fill these holes in me. I stand and spread this love till I'm complete. I stand and find the strength to speak despite my battered speech. My words to you, should they ever even reach, would be, I think I'm in love with you, but I can't survive another unnamed future. I cannot bring you flowers and act like I'm not presenting a dead thing with a bouquet of pretty, dying things. I cannot bring you flowers. I cannot give you the world and watch you turn it to a snow globe. 1, you want to know how I got these scars? Have you ever had to rip every part of somebody out of your smile? Have you ever had to shed layer upon layer of skin to remove your other half? You ever fall in love with the way they embrace you from behind until you realize that's where they did everything, from behind your back? Nothing in my life has ever damaged me like love. Falling for somebody who ain't really who they said they was. I really could have hurt you bad, but I ain't react at all. Why does being the bigger person always make me feel small? 0, you want to know how I got these scars? Me too.
And we back. I hope y'all enjoyed that nice form of poetry from T Sleeveless. Make sure y'all go follow him on Instagram. But yeah, we got Miss Rhonda Boyd down here joining us on the couch. Actual licensed therapist.
Hi, Naeem.
Hey, Miss Rhonda. So I actually got the pleasure and the honor of getting to know you both in your profession and as a person. Mm-hmm. So I feel like it's only right if we allow the people to get to know who we sit next to and who we're going to be hearing from today. So tell us about Rhonda Boyd.
Mm-hmm. So Rhonda Boyd, I am a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother of, I'm not going to mess it up, but I have all grandsons. There's about 8 of them. I'm in a blended family. So my husband and I both came into the relationship with children. We don't have children together. I'm a clinical coordinator at the School District of Philadelphia. I own a private practice, and I have a nonprofit.
So you got a lot, your hands in a lot. That's what's up. I got the luxury of being able to see it. So let's go a little bit more in deep beyond your title. You started off, you said you're a wife.
Yes.
All right, now we know that you got to that later more in life. So let's go to the earlier childhood. Let's learn about the upbringing. So how do we arrive at married Rhonda Boyd?
So I am the youngest of 3. I have 2 older brothers. I have a half sister. But I grew up in a home with my mom. She was a single parent because my dad was an alcoholic. He wasn't able to be present. And so I grew up on 38th and Reno. And that's hood all day. But I didn't know it was the hood. I mean, my mom had a savvy way of making us think, or at least make me think that I was special. I was spoiled. I mean, there's no question I was spoiled. And so I went on to middle school, and then when I got to high school, I met my daughter's father. And he was a known drug dealer. I don't deny that fact.
A known drug dealer from down your way, or just like
in the area?
In the area.
In the area. He wasn't necessarily from the bottom, but he was from West Philly. And he was getting money, crazy money. And today I can tell myself the truth. I benefited from his fortunes.
Yeah.
And I was 20, I think I was 20, 20. It was a new law that came out, and he had drugs in the house. I didn't know he had drugs. I knew he sold drugs, but I didn't know the drugs was in the house. He was there.
Y'all was living together?
No, it was my apartment. And they raided my house. And that new law came out that whoever name was, on the lease, that person, took the
could be
case.
held liable and responsible.
So I got locked up. I was locked up for like 6 months. It felt like 6 years. My daughter was 2 months when I got locked up. And I was bitter.
So wait, let's talk about that, because you said a lot, right? So let's unpack, definitely starting from, that experience. How did he not take accountability for his actions in that, like, I'm not gonna let my daughter's mom go to jail. This is my stuff.
He did time too.
Okay.
So he did 5 years. No, he didn't. He didn't take responsibility. But today, I get it. And what I mean by that, he was a kid, just like I was a kid. That's not the story that I told myself because I was angry.
Yeah.
But he was a kid. He was doing what adults do, but he was a kid.
Yeah.
And so just like my life got messed up, his got messed up too. He in a wheelchair now.
All right, so we definitely got to unpack that. But let's go a little bit more into, you being arrested. And I know you said that, he was a kid or whatever the case may be, but there had never been no prior conversations to if this was to happen, how it would play out.
We ain't talk like that. We was ghetto fabulous, just living. I mean, we were just living, buying and just living. No, we never thought, I never thought that something like this would happen, that I would get caught up.
So, because you said something that I thought was key, and I feel like not many women acknowledge that fact, that you was benefiting from it.
Oh, for sure.
So did you feel like the punishment you received was proper to what you gained from it?
Absolutely not. No, I felt like a victim when it happened.
Okay.
Now, I can only say today at 54 that I benefited. But ask me at 27, 34, and even maybe early 40s, I would tell you the same story. But but I had to do some work to get
Yeah.
here. So I have to tell myself the truth today because I did benefit,
Yeah.
you know.
So take us through that process. You go to prison, you lose your daughter. And this is probably my last question in this round, but your daughter left to the family members, the system? What?
Yes, my family
members?
stepped up.
Okay.
My sister took care of her. But I wish I can say that was the only time. That
Okay.
wasn't the only time. 5 years later, he came home and he got a bike. He asked me to get a bike in his name. And I did. I didn't question it. He did 5 years. You know, I didn't question it. We didn't get back together.
You was riding?
I was just riding. I'm a rider. If I'm for you, I'm for you.
Yeah.
To a default.
Yeah.
And so I reported the bike stolen. Come to find out that the bike was not stolen. It was involved in a shootout with housing 30 cops. And so they, by me reporting it, it was insurance fraud. So this time I didn't do any time. I was able to sign myself out. But I knew I had to do something different, right? But I also knew that those things was, necessary to happen.
Yeah.
Because if they didn't happen, I probably would have stayed. I probably would have kept going back.
So you did the time. You said you felt like a victim. So that means you had to come with some type of resentment.
Oh, I was bitter.
Yeah,
I was
bitterness
angry.
too. But so 5 years later, what makes you visit that situation and then do something else?
Not feeling like I was worthy of anything different, if
Okay.
I'm honest.
So, and do you feel like in those moments, now looking back, let's fast forward looking back, do you feel like you was taken advantage of, or do you feel like that was where the kid, being a kid, comes in?
That's when you live in an adult life, but developmentally, you're not mature enough to handle the ramifications of what you got yourself involved in.
Yeah.
Because you was only looking at the benefits, you wasn't looking at the costs and the consequences by sticking and staying.
Yeah. So how important, and this is me jumping back and forth to even kind of try to gauge just as an opportunity for that young woman that may be 20 to 27 that don't have these experiences yet to even gauge, to even understand the consequences of certain decisions they make. How important is it for them to understand these things now before going through what you went through?
I think that what I would say to my 20-year-old self and the 20-year-old that's listening, don't do nothing in isolation. You gotta have somebody that had more sunrises and sunsets than you to talk to.
Yeah.
If you think it's a great plan, the people that love you, share it with them and see if they think it's a great plan too. Because people that love you, they're gonna be honest with you. They're not gonna try to control you, but they're gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
People was honest with me. So that's why I say I can't play a victim, because I knew the truth.
Yeah, and you told yourself a lot after they told you.
Yeah, I did what I wanted to do.
So how do we gauge between those people who have your best interests at heart, that love you, and those people that are trying to control you?
Sometimes I think the more healthy I am, the better I'm able to make wise decisions about safe people. But when I'm sick, I attract sick people.
So let's talk about that. When you say sick, like, because, we're not talking about in terms of like physical illness. We're talking about in terms of like the mentality, right?
Right. So sick is, I got some friends that I can call, and I already know how they going to respond.
Yeah.
Right. They going to tell me what I want to hear. They're not going to tell me the truth. It don't mean that they don't love me. They just not the friends that I need to go to when I want somebody to be honest with me. And so when I'm sick and I'm not in a positive state of mind, they the ones I'm gonna call.
When you're trying to create community, a destructive community, you got that in place.
Yes.
And you want to go get some accountability.
Yes.
You got that in place as well.
I talk to those friends. Yeah, but I talk to those friends more than I talk to the friends that are not as healthy as,
Well, we say that's because you're seeking solutions now versus trying to soak in the problems and find your way out of accountability. So, because again, it's so funny that we talk about this, and I feel like there's a lot of people my age, both younger, even older, who create that destructive community of they gonna tell me what I want to hear, and they stray away from the people that's gonna keep it real with them because they don't want to be held accountable. They would rather much hear you say, "Nah, fuck that, they wrong."
I can stay stuck when I go to the people who want me to be stuck with them.
Yeah.
But I think the people that not only love me, but they see my potential, they don't want to see me forfeit the stuff that they see that I have the potential to be and to acquire.
No, that make a lot of sense. So let's unpack. All right, boom, going through your 30s now, because you learned these lessons at 20. So how long did it take for you to forgive this man?
Over 20 years. Over 20 years.
So before I even ask the process and forgiveness, because I think this is so key, how did that make you feel through them 20 years of harvesting that anger, animosity, and bitterness towards them?
It's like carrying an empty book bag with college textbooks from your first semester year, all of them, on your back every day. That's how I was. I was angry, unapproachable. I was harsh and I was rigid. That might be hard to believe, but I was. Like I said what I mean, my whole mentality was it was my way or the highway. Like I wanted to control everything and everybody.
So this not only affected you and your romantic life, this also affected you as a mom, as a girlfriend, as a daughter, sister,
a friend. I didn't know how to be no friend. I thought I was. But I ain't know how to be no friend.
I want to unpack that a little more, but before we do, we're going to cut to a quick commercial break, and we're going to see y'all back after this short message.
Hey Wolf,
What's going on?
why should I register my business with First Step Marketing and not LegalZoom?
Can I do some examples?
Yep,
All right, cool. What am I holding in my hand?
iPads.
And which one would you pay more for?
That one.
Are you referring to the black one?
Yep,
Why?
because it's bigger, it looks nicer, it holds more information.
What about now? What am I holding in my hand?
Books.
Which one would you pay more for?
Neither.
Why not?
They're the same book, they hold the same information.
Okay, so that pretty much describes why you should come to First Step Marketing and not LegalZoom. Don't pay more to get the same information. Don't pay more to get the same results. We are offering you the same information and you'll get the same results by registering your business with First Step Marketing, and you'll save a ton of money. Come check us out. Now, before we cut to a commercial break, we were talking about, your inability to be, a good person because of your experiences. So now let's delve into the process of stepping away from those experiences and creating new ones.
So it really started in my 20s. I was working at this place out Newtown Square. And a supervisor said to me, well, she suggested to me that I might want to go to talk to somebody.
Tell the lady. Go down
To a
the couch.
therapist.
Yeah. That's what we say. I'm going to go talk to the lady.
Yes. But she didn't look like me. And so I was like, who's she to be telling me I need to go talk to somebody? But she cared enough. I'll never forget that she came from the Westchester area all the way to 49th and Wyalusing. The place is called Community Council. Sat through the whole intake and everything with me. And but I never started. I grew up in a house. What goes on the house stays in the house. You don't tell your business. And so I was fearful of opening up. And then I was fearful of the rage that was on the inside, that if I let it out, I didn't know where it would lead. So I just tried to keep it in. So your first experience that never actually turned into an actual counseling or therapy experience, when did you actually arrive at, because before you could become a therapist, I know you had to do some work. Oh, they suggested, but I had done work before I even realized I was going to be a therapist. So my bio daughter is 33, so she was like in maybe 16 when I finally made it back.
Okay, so 16 years later, after your experiences, no, that's not 16 years from that day, but that's 16 years after the experience to her, you going to jail and all of that. You went back in and did this therapist look like you?
He did.
Oh, so it was a male and he was black?
Yeah.
So what was it, a sense of you feeling safe when you got in there? Like, I'm amongst my people?
I felt like he would get me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's common for most people?
Oh, for sure.
Feeling like they could be understood if...
I don't think it's true necessarily, because I work along with some women, white women.
Yeah.
And the mentor that got me, I feel like that gave me my starting point. He was white. But I think it takes us to do the work first within ourselves, because we don't tend to be able, let me just say me, I don't tend to be able to trust what I don't know.
I would say that's common. Most people fear the unknown, right? So I wouldn't just say that's a you thing. I think that to some degree we all have that sense of this is unfamiliar. I never did it before, so I'm going to have reservations about it. But you had spoke to the black household, right? And I think it's key that we even touch on it, because as I get older and pay attention to social media, I realize that a lot of our childhoods was the same. I'm like, who the hell wrote the Black Parenting Handbook?
I don't know.
And gave this out to everybody, because it seems like all of our experiences are similar. So let's talk about what happens in the house stays in the house. Is that healthy?
No.
Okay.
Because it teach you how to stuff feelings. I think it teach you how to stuff feelings. It teach you not to trust what you feeling. I mean, a simple thing is like, you all right. No, I'm not all right. Like, I'm hurting. Or just get over it. Pull yourself up. I can't pull myself up. I need help. And so, no, I don't think it's helpful.
So when you say, like, I need help, right? I feel like those are some of the toughest words for somebody to actually allow to come out of their mouth for self reasons, pride, ego, different things like that, and then just not feeling like they're going to be seen in their efforts and attempts. So do you think that that's the cause of people crying in silence? Like people hoping you notice they need help?
They don't want to be judged, right? Because it seems like it's a weakness, right? Because I'm asking for help. But it's actually strength, right? When you know you can't do it by yourself and you ask for help.
Yeah.
But we don't always see it that way.
So what's some healthy things, like for somebody who's not at that level of, you know, even being able to, say if they don't have no means of getting therapy, right? But they want to do healthy things within their household, change the way they parent or the way their households are structured to eliminate that whole what happens in the house stays in the house thing. How can they create healthy lines of communication amongst one another?
The one thing I try to do, even in my own communication, is like, say if I feel like somebody did something to me, I don't say what they do. I say how what they did make me feel. So I always keep it in I statements, right? Because in a home, like, it's easy, I feel like, for us to place blame and get frustrated with each other.
You did this.
I did that. You know, well, I only did that because you did this. But no, let me focus on myself, right? So, like, this is what I did, and when I did that, you said such and such, and this is how that made me feel.
Yeah.
I can't control the outcome of it, but I do feel like it's my job to communicate how I feel about something. My husband can't read my mind. But I remember early on, it's like, I'm going to hold it in by osmosis. He going to figure this out.
And he gonna see
like,
that
he over there chilling, like, what? Was she mad? And I'm like, yeah, you don't get that?
Yeah.
So, but that's stuff we did in my house, right, growing up. So, like, those behaviors don't work in adulthood.
So let me piggyback, right? So it's funny, right? Because like I'm big on keeping things in-house, right? But not in a toxic way.
No.
So for me, when I say it, like I say this to the women I date, I haven't had this conversation with my kids in terms of like keep everything in-house, but it's more so like, let's figure out a way to handle our problems without the perspective of the world tainting, because they don't know all the variables that go into whatever this is. So when we insert their perspective, we now bring in unwarranted opinions and, you know what I mean, make us a topic, and for them is entertainment.
Right.
So I tend to make that statement, but not in a sense of let's sweep it under the rug.
No, but I also think you have to know when it's the appropriate time, right? Like, I had to learn that.
Like domestic abuse should never be kept in-house.
That, but also I had to learn that when my husband first come home from work, that's not the time for me to ask him 1,000,001 questions.
Talk about it.
Like, I got to give him space and ask, like, is now a good time? Oh, well, when you get yourself together, or, you know, can we talk? Can we set a time?
Because people don't know that you got to literally prepare yourself for that. Like,
I didn't know that. I thought you were supposed to just be excited that I got home and I had a lot to tell you about my day. And it wasn't that he wasn't excited, but he has the stress of his own day that he's carrying and trying to be present for me.
Yeah.
So it's like he need that space, you know, in between. But it took us having those courageous conversations so that we're not doing it in a toxic way or avoiding it, but being able to have those kind of conversations.
And I think that's key, and that's actually something that I want to go way in the depth and within our open discussion. about, you know, you arriving at marriage, the marriage itself, the things that work, the things that have to be worked on. And because I want to take that as an opportunity to give everybody insight on what it looks like, what real marriage should look like, and not what we see depicted and displayed in the world and in the media.
And it takes work.
Yeah, and you say that a lot. So I want to go a little deeper into the work element, because like again, I want to funnel this into, okay, how did you arrive at becoming a wife? Because you go from arrested, bitter to, you know, take up to that process.
I've dated, but then I had got to a place that I was just like, I'm good. And because it was like, when you get a certain age as a woman, I feel like you get to this place where, you know, you want to get married, and then you in these relationships and they never, you know, never produce to marriage. And then I know in the beginning it would be like, oh, well, you know, is this person the one? Are they not the one? And then it just got to be where it was just like, I'm good. I'm good. And so when I met my husband, we grew up together. So when we got reconnected, I was really slow. I didn't know that he was pursuing me. I thought it was just two friends, you know, coming together, because I just was like, God, I'm good. Like, because if you send me somebody else and it don't work out, I'm not really sure how that's going to turn out, right? Like, that's,
you're going back.
Yes, that's kind of where I was. And so I had kind of left. Yeah, the pre-Miss Rhonda. So it's kind of weird, but like we talked on so we went on a date, and then he took me on a date for 2 weeks straight. And then on the second date.
We call that pressure.
No, I was just like, we chilling. Like, I literally, and my girlfriend, it was like after a week, she was like, you know, he making sure you never go out on a date. I was like, you think so? I'm telling you, slow. She was like, yeah. So I asked him. He was like, she would be right. I was like, oh, like the light went on, right? And it wasn't because I didn't think he was attracted or anything like that. I just really thought it was just like two friends getting reconnected.
Whole time you being interviewed.
Being interviewed. God, thank God I passed the interview.
Thank God.
But he told me on the second date, he said, I'm going to marry you. I want to get to know you. And I was like, okay, that's different. But
yeah, let's unpack that though, because how did that authentically make you feel hearing those words on date 2?
I was like, he is sick. That's what I said. I'm not gonna lie. He know why I said that, because I was like, okay, but I'm on the couch chilling, so I'm gonna go and see what's gonna happen, right? I wasn't like, you know, sometimes when you want to get, I think when you want to get married and somebody say that, it's like, all right, when we going to the altar. So it was like how, you know, sometimes God gives you the vision, but it doesn't manifest yet. So it was like that kind of situation. So we actually were together 2 years prior to us getting married. And I'm grateful.
Was you being restless in that moment?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I had some ultimatums and all that. And but when I tell you that and I'm not taking nothing away from no experience that I had in no relationship, because I'm better for it. Today, my daughter, father, and I are friends. He's friends with my husband. I don't have no ill, you know, will against him. But God knew. He knew what I needed in a husband. Because when I tell you that I couldn't be here and do what I do if he wasn't my husband.
So let's talk about, I want to speak generally, just gauge your perspective. What about the women that want to be married, but they doing everything that counteracts what will lead towards marriage? What would you say to them to kind of redirect them?
What we give out is what we get in return.
Okay, so
if you want marriage, you got to carry yourself. Like I already knew, I already knew I was married. I knew I was marriage material, so I carried myself. My friends were married. Like majority of my friends were married. I didn't notice at the time. God was preparing me and putting people in my life, right, for me to walk into what I was already destined to.
A healthy community.
Yeah, a healthy community. So like, but when I was out there and I was doing me, you know, the old me, like, wasn't nobody coming and saying, you know, such and such, I want to have your daughter's hand in marriage.
So have you ever made that statement, oh, I'm going to do right by the right when the right one come?
Yeah.
So let's unpack that. What was that? What was that about?
Wanting not to give up control, right? Because that's really what it is, right? Surrendering. Because that's what I feel like that's what marriage is. And people make it seem like it's a surrender. I'm not surrendering to my husband. I'm surrendering to God because that's who we got married in front of.
Yes.
So if I'm going to be, when I'm obedient to God, my husband is the recipient of that obedience. And it's the same thing for him.
Yeah.
But we want to, I think women, we want to manage, control, and manipulate. And that's not really how it is. I think God uses marriage in the context of making us learn that marriage is not to be happy, but it's to be holy. But I got married to be happy, so that was the problem for a long time.
You wanted the wedding.
I wanted all of the
whole...
lights and whistles, but I didn't want the work because the work does, it helps me to become better.
Yes.
So if I'm better, then the marriage is going to be better.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? But we don't want to go through nothing.
Yeah.
Like a diamond is not at its finest when it's found, and neither is a pearl. It takes work.
What's your thoughts on this statement? They say women want to be married or they want a ring, but they don't want to be wives. Like they want the ring, they want the wedding, but they don't want to actually be wives after the wedding.
Because most people live for the wedding. The wedding is about 20 minutes. It's the marriage that I live for.
Okay.
Because it's life after that. Like, we didn't prepare just for that day.
Yes.
Because if it was a tsunami that day that we got married. But we didn't prepare for that day. We prepared for marriage. Because marriage is I believe, is the life that we're trying to live together.
Yes. It's
and
not
not
journey.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
It's definitely a journey.
So, all right, and then going back to what when you said you get back what you give out, and so with that being that's definitely the truth. You know what I mean? I feel like even I always tell, and it's so funny to me because I say it in multiple videos. If you want to be married, you got to carry yourself like a wife. And instead of interpreting that statement, I always get that rebuttal of you got to carry yourself like a husband if you want a wife. And it's like that for any man that wants to be married, that's something that's a mindset he has to have. Like even myself, that's a goal of mine. I have to have that mindset. But if I'm putting the information out there for the women to present themselves in that way, it's not for them to be combative. It's more so to establish that ground of, listen, like we both got to carry ourselves in this way, but don't deflect back. You know what I mean? So
I feel like it's kind of like, when somebody say, well, I want somebody who fit, but you're not in shape.
Yes.
You say you want somebody with good credit, but your credit is gecko.
Yes.
No, what are you bringing to the table? Like nobody, I don't believe, want to be in a relationship where they have to carry somebody. My life should be better your life should be better as a result of me in it, and my life should be better as a result of you in it. You should be challenging me to do some things, and I should be challenging you.
When we come back, we're going to finish this discussion. I got a good question for you. Don't go nowhere. I'm going to give you 3 reasons why you should come to First Step Marketing. For one, we're affordable, which means that we are cheaper than all of our competitors, which means you get the same results, a much smoother process, and a much cheaper price. 2, we're convenient. We're located smack dead in the heart of Philadelphia. So if you live in Philly or the surrounding areas, you can pull up on us and get face-to-face service, or we can service you virtually from anywhere in the world. And 3, we're reliable. We've serviced thousands of satisfied customers who have nothing but good things to say about us and our service. And we would love to add you to that list. So look below for details. Come get with us. We can't wait to take care of you. Wolf has spoken. Yeah, so even just speaking to doing the inner work and the self work, you know what I mean? I think that's how everybody should show up. Like, because if we showing up with expectations as opposed to standards, and I feel like people often don't understand the difference in the two. It's why so many people they always outwardly looking and assessing. And do you think that that's an excuse to never look in the mirror?
Oh, for sure, because it's easy for me to focus on you and not on myself. I got the patent on what you should do. And if you just do it, your life will be better. That's what I tell myself anyway.
Yeah.
But the focus really need to be on me. Yeah.
How can somebody do that though? Like, there's somebody out here that wants to work on themselves, right? But they can't get past that barrier.
And what barriers that to always look outside themselves?
Yeah, that not wanting to face them. You don't want to see. You want to see everybody but yourself.
I think people have to be self-aware first.
Okay.
Right. Like, so I don't think you could just, I do think it's some people that you can pull their coat, but for the most part, there is a population of people who are not yet aware of how people experience them, right?
Oh my gosh. Talk.
How people experience them. So until they get to a place of, they're able to be vulnerable and teachable, they're going to keep walking around thinking it's everybody else and not themselves.
It's crazy, right? Because like I feel like me being so self-aware, right, and then just observing the world, but always without judgment, just paying attention. I was like, I stick to myself. I had to ask myself. I think I came up in the streets. I'm the realest nigga in the streets. I done been tested in this situation. I done held down these homies while they went to jail. I done took care of this friend's kids and did this for this person's mom, and I paid this lawyer. I done been in these rooms and situations, and I done came out. I'm 10 toes. But what's my kids' experience like with me? Like, what if my kids had to do an interview? What they gonna say about their dad? And when the moment I asked myself that, I started, what's my mom experience like? What my sisters? Oh shit, I need to be a better person in total, because it's not necessarily what I say about me, it's how are people experience. So many people say, I'm a good person. Like, you see it on social media, men think they good men, women think they good women, but it's like, no, you a piece of shit human being. You the only person that think you are a good person, and you think that you're reserved to being good when you meet a good person. But it's like, actually being a good person, if I see how you acting, I say this to people, and I mainly find myself saying to the women when they make that statement, I'm gonna be right for the right man. I say, even when you're with the wrong man, you're still auditioning for the right man. You never know who's watching you.
You never know.
Why you think that how you carried in this situation is not on your resume, right? So just going back, generalizing it, just being self-aware is like, I want everybody to be able to say, nah, he's a good person. I've made some bad decisions in my life. I'm probably gonna do more. Like, that's just humans. But for the most part, what's your experience? Like, was I nasty to you? Did I do something personal to you? Or did you hear something that probably is different than what you wanted to hear of? But when people are not self-aware and they looking at your, that's why I tell it to my team, I be transparent. Don't assess me.
No.
Don't assess somebody next to you. Don't tell them what they need to do better. Is your job done? You know what I mean? And I look at accountability in a sense of, it starts with self. Oh,
for sure.
Me taking into account my ability to react and respond in every situation.
And most times, the people who are unaware, they've heard things about themselves before, right? Like, whoever brings it up, it's not the first time, right? But we sometimes we stuck. Like, we just stuck in our thinking and our behavior. And sometimes it's just maturity. Like, I can't expect somebody in their 20s to operate like somebody in their 30s. I just can't expect that, right?
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
But I do expect you in your 30s to be different than when you were in your 20s.
100%.
Right. And because if not, then that's a different conversation.
Yes.
Right. But giving people the grace to be where they are, and at the same time challenging them to do something different. So,
like, even to piggyback off that, when you said that, just going back to the whole notion of, like, people have said this to people before, right? That's not your first time hearing this. So, like, what about them people that combat it with, but you this too, but you that, but you not perfect.
You know how I respond to them? But in this moment, we're not talking about that. This is what we're talking about. Now, we can create a time where you can get all of those things
about me out.
But in this moment,
this your session.
We talking about you.
Yeah, no, I feel that. And, like I said, I say that because, like, you run into that with a lot of people. They're not self-aware. They choose not to be, and they really choose to focus on the things that they love about themselves, and they mask and hide and run from everything that they hate. And what I had to learn to do, I had to fall in love with the things that I hated about myself. I used to hate my nose. But I don't know why, because it made me vulnerable and insecure, and it made me self-conscious. But I said, I can't get rid of this. It's on my face. It's the first thing you see. Every time I walk up to somebody, to be thinking, like, if they think of what I'm thinking, if they think, do they know that I'm worried about what they think about? You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
And over the years, I said, damn, it ain't nothing I can do about it.
And there's so much wasted energy.
It's wasted. So now it's like, I didn't hear every joke you could hear as a kid, to where though I'm not even sensitive. Now, it's one thing if you try to disrespect me.
Right.
But it's another thing for you to just think that you're going to make me feel less of myself. Because, no, I understand. Like, it's what it, and once I was able to face my appearance, it's like, The inner work is now just me and myself.
Absolutely.
Let's figure it out.
But it's always ourself against ourselves.
Every time.
Every time. And that's really who we should be measuring ourselves. I should be measuring myself every year, every 6 months, or how often I measure myself only against myself.
100%. And you know what I love even about this conversation, right? Because like we can get lost in the fact that you're an actual therapist, right? Because, you know, people would assume, for one, that therapists don't talk like this. They don't have this background. They don't come from where they come from. They ain't had no work to do. You just read a few textbooks and now you're trying to tell them about themselves. So I think it's very important for them to get to see you in a vulnerable space so they know like, nah, like I be doing work too. Like
Yes.
I'm leading by example. I'm not
Yes.
just out here preaching but not practicing. I'm doing, you know, so I definitely wanted to take the time to highlight that. And now I want to kind of segue into our open discussion. I'm probably not going to cut to a commercial break. I'm going to just roll right into it.
Okay.
And within the open discussion, this becomes conversational. I do want to talk about your marriage.
Okay.
I got the pleasure of knowing your husband, a wonderful man, a man of honor, a successful man. He's like a man's man, like somebody that you can model after. Like, you know, I always say like I aspire to be as successful as he is in my own right at that age, married, you know, being able to conduct myself. And I also want to go into just like the parenting and just different topics. So let's start. I'll start with you. Let's start with the marriage aspect of it. How long have you been married? And what are some things that, remember I said that works, and some things that y'all work on in the marriage?
So I've been married a little over 7 years. Well, we've been married a little over 7 years. And I think the biggest challenge, if I had to say that we had, is how we communicate. And what I mean by that is that I had to learn, first of all, we had to learn how to love each other. So we did that 5 love languages.
What was y'all's?
Mine's is physical touch and quality time. And my husband is words of affirmation. He gonna kill me. I don't remember the other one, but I definitely know that it's words of affirmation.
So I think it's gift giving.
It's gift giving, but he a gift giver. So
I'm trying to just run through the 5, see if it come back to you. Words of affirmation, gift giving, quality time, physical touch, and acts of service.
Acts of service. And so I know the main one is words of affirmation. So I learned early on that if he was to do something, and if I disagreed or questioned it, that was like a level of disrespect, right? Because it meant that I didn't trust him.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, Dad, I'm just putting my 2 cents, you know, because I'm thinking, I mean, you got to remember I was 46 when I got married.
So I've been already got a perspective.
I was living life on life terms, you know. I was a black woman doing what? I can't ask you no question. So I had to learn that was disrespectful. And I was like, ooh, okay, this mouth. And he used to call me a name, and I worked really hard. He said, "You nice, nasty." No, was it nice? No, he used to do this. I hope I can make this sound. No, that wasn't a sound. It was a rattlesnake sound. Because he used to be like, "You're just mean." And I was like, I don't like that, you know. And he would joke, but I didn't like it, you know, because I really wanted to be softer because that's how I was when we got married. But then, I don't know, it was like a light switch from courting and once you got married. I don't know, I had a lot of expectations, but they was unrealistic.
It's so funny because one day you're not married, you wake up the next day married, and life's just supposed to change.
I don't know why, it's just like, I'm a wife, and like something is supposed to be different. I don't know. I don't know what it was. I don't know if I thought my privilege was different. I don't know, but it was weird.
I love the transparency and how you was feeling in those moments because I feel like you're not alone. I feel like we, as men, I feel like we more practical about a lot of things. So we understand like marriage to be a love, a union. We understand the partnership aspect of it. We understand the assignment in terms of if, you know, we abide by it, the assignment that comes with it. And we understand the roles and responsibilities before we look at the fantasy of what it means to be married. It's like all of the ABCDs.
I think we do, women, because marriage definitely, for me, I went into it like a fantasy.
Yeah.
I thought my husband was going to be my knight in
shining
shining armor. I thought we was going to roll together. We was going to be twins. And he like, what? Nah.
You had the matching pajamas before
he
Christmas?
Like, no, I'm not doing that. And I'm like, for real? He like, no. But he taught me like how to have a balance, right? And it works for some people. Some people is them too against the world. And that's the other thing I learned with marriage. Like, I used to think that it was one particular way. No, it's the way that the
Works
two of
for your
you
people.
come together and make it work.
Yeah. That's the one I want though. The us against the world. Yeah. You know, cause like I feel like the world has a lot of different dynamics to it, and and more of them are against you than for you.
Oh, for sure.
So it's like I feel like if you my partner and we took vows, it's like we got to do just that. Like we ain't gotta like each other every day, but we definitely gotta love each other more than we love anything else in the world. You know what I mean?
So we say this one. Well, I don't say it, but Martin says it. He says, sometimes my wife loves me because I'm lovable, and sometimes she loves me because it's her duty to love me. So.
No, that's powerful, and I think I feel like men we don't get loved unconditionally by anybody that's not our mom. Every other person in the world loves us on account that we provide something.
It's interesting because actually I think men are provide. So it's two things I want to say. The first thing I think marriage is, and I heard somebody say this, is that we are managing the decision. Throughout marriage, we are managing that decision that we made at the altar. Every day, we are managing that decision.
And you saying that's for both men and women?
For both men and women. But this is how men think of marriage. And y'all correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Men, when they find the one, for them, it's over. They off the market, they done. For a woman, when he finds her, life is just beginning. Yeah,
and you know what's so funny? I can't make this up, right? So I'm working on multiple books, but in one of my other relationship books, it's 50% done, but I was they're torn between which direction I was going to go in. In chapter 1, I explain this to men, and I'm like, listen, y'all don't understand that getting a woman is not winning the championship. It's more like getting drafted. For them, see, but we count the investment up into it. I've been chasing this girl for 10 years. I finally got her, kicked my feet up. She mine now. And it's like, that her clock didn't start until she said yes.
Yeah.
Now she like, all right.
That was to get me, but now it's another clock.
Yeah, and, it's so funny that you say that because I really was trying to explain that. And I agree wholeheartedly because that's the truth. And we see it because that's the day we hunters. So I caught my prey, I got her.
Yeah.
All right, boom, now let's build this life out. But it's like, now she want to be entertained and courted more, and she want this experience.
Because that's what you did to get her.
Yeah, and I agree.
But on the flip side of that, for the female, like you dressed up, you made up, you beat your face, you know, you wore your stilettos and
you was
all
nice.
That. You was nice, you was cooking, you was doing all that until what you got her. It's like, where does the barracuda come from?
Yeah, that's why I told men, and even in that chapter, like in the terms of managing a woman's expectations, because if you start your floor at your ceiling, you're gonna kill yourself. Because correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like women are creatures of evolution, meaning it's always about an elevated experience. It's not, I don't want to do the same thing twice. I'm not going to the restaurant and getting the same thing. I want to try this and that and this. And for a man, it's like, I ain't had none of that before. Get me what I get every time because I trust this, right?
Yes.
And within managing the expectations is, all right, I'm not going to expose everything I'm capable of while I'm courting her because I don't want her to think this is the norm. And I made that mistake in, my last relationship because I was so excited to be there, right? So I'm like, I'm gonna show her what type of man she got. I'm doing this and that. And then it's always like, well, what's next?
Yeah.
So if you manage your expectations as a man in a relationship, you start small. You don't call, and this is where you don't create a pattern that you don't want to follow, because we set the patterns. And they looking for us to set the patterns. They looking to follow our behavior, so it could be like, he doing something different. So if you start off calling every day, texting every day, sending flowers every Friday, you now created a standard in which you're gonna hold you to. You miss one Friday, would you say that it now becomes a red flag? It's like, where the flowers at? So I always say, be spontaneous and be consistently inconsistent. And what I mean is like, I'm gonna show up and be the same man that you met, but how I do that is gonna look different, just so you won't try to predict my behavior and my actions. But, you know, I went on a rant real quick because I wanted to say that, but just based off you even saying that one statement, and, you know, us feeling like we caught y'all, and y'all feeling like, you know, nah, like, show me the money, like, I'm here now. So year 1 and year 7, talk to me, like, what's different?
Well, we definitely are empty nesters. No
What's
kids.
an empty nester?
The last one went off to college, so we have no kids at home.
Oh, I'm like, wait,
So,
you know all these new terms. I'm like, empty nesters.
Empty nesters.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Y'all wouldn't know. My mom went to like some type of swing and stuff. I'm like, hold up. What?
But I think now, like, we get to do those things that, you know, we didn't have time to do.
I think that's
so we
so
get
dope.
to travel. You know, my husband, he has his own business. You know, he's in a world of recovery. He just opened up a new program. So, you know, we just get to live life.
So do you have to work?
He said, yeah, but I don't believe that. I don't. I just think it gets I get out of his way when I'm out the house. That's what I think.
And that's the thing that I admire, because I don't believe you have to work neither. So, Mr. Martin, if you're watching this, I'm on her side. I don't believe she have to work. But I think what he does allows you to do what you love to do.
This is true. Like, I literally don't have to worry about anything, so it frees me up to be able to
try and do.
Absolutely. Take a dabble and dibble.
The reason I say that because I feel like my wife shouldn't have to work either. And I feel like this new generation sees it differently. So would you say that you're more, I know your marriage operating in that way and it works for y'all, but would you, mindset wise, did you come into a traditional or more modern?
Oh no, I wanted to stay home.
Oh, so you was like,
Listen, y'all, I wanted to stay home. But let me say this, I think a man could, his desire could be for his wife, right, to stay home. And how his wife responds to him before he gets to where he is destined to be.
Yes.
Will
Oh my gosh.
determine. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that the way my husband take care of me is because I never forget when we first met, when we first got reconnected. He told me everything that he wanted to do with Serge, and I believed him.
And oh my gosh, this is so key. Just that little bit of, that mustard seed of faith you got in this man, propel him to do everything he said he was going to do. And because you become the accountability partner. Unofficially, women tend to think that it's verbal with the accountability. It's not, it's your presence. It's knowing that this woman believes in you. It's like not letting your mom down. You don't want to let that woman down that believes in you.
I believed in him so much. We joke about this today, but like, I don't know. I think it was probably like 2 weeks before we got married. He lost his job. And I was like, I ain't crazy. I cannot, this is a us thing. I believe in him. I know what God told me. And here we have it.
But let's unpack, right? Because I know it's a viewer out there that's like, but what about the person that you believed in and they're not doing nothing with themselves? How do you know the difference?
I can't honestly say that I actually believed in somebody else. I can actually say that I was fascinated and I was trying to make myself believe that this would work. I'm just only speaking for me.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But like, I knew without a shadow of a doubt. But let's go back. Like, I do think that you can be loyal and you can believe in people, but you can't motivate a man. So let me say that.
No,
right?
good.
You can't
motivate
motivate a man, right? Like, because I've been in relationships with some people who I saw their potential. But, dude, you got to encourage yourself. Like, that I feel like that already has to be in you. Like, I'm already motivated. So what my husband gives me is just added and pushes me out there on those days that I'm low or those days I feel like giving up.
It's reminding who you are.
It's reminding me. But like, if he didn't already have that dream, I couldn't give him that dream. I couldn't inspire him. But because he told it to me and then our spirits linked up around it, whatever was necessary for him to get to that, I felt like as his helpmate, that was my job to do that.
And so much you just said, right? So like that's what I always find myself saying. to anybody. You can't motivate somebody. You can only support them through their motivations. Like,
Right.
you could feel like somebody could be the president of the United States, but if they're not getting up to go campaign, it's not your job to go try to pull them out the bed and go print out posters and say, we're going to set the schedule. No, they got to be getting up before you and then almost leaving to where you're like, oh, I want to be a part of this. Let me come insert. And I think that's key. But even going back to you saying that it's because of who you were when he wasn't who he was yet, that made it this. I think that's another thing that's so important, because a lot of people think they're supposed to arrive at the reward without ever sitting through the journey with you and being. And this is another thing, right? And I want to address the audience when I say this, right? So many women always say, "What happened when you hold a man down and then he get up and leave you?" Right? And I want to say this. I feel like how you treat a man while he's down is going to determine how he treats you when he get up.
Because you could hold it down, but are you doing it with joy, or are you bitter holding it down?
'Cause now you holding him back.
Him every sorry, whatever.
Exactly.
You know? So yeah.
And I feel like that's holding somebody back. That ain't holding them down. You there, but you being an anchor.
Right.
You're not really being like a driving force
No.
that's pushing them forward. And I say that all the time. Is like, yeah, if some men, if he just a nut and he just never had nothing and he didn't know himself and he was using you for convenience and he used you as a vehicle to get to success, and he ran off on you, he's a nut. That's just what it is. But that man that really truly believes in himself and just begging for his woman to believe in him, and she is treating him like shit while he's down, oh yeah, he gonna get up and he gonna get away from her, because when he get up, he's gonna reflect on who was there and how was they there, where it goes back to how somebody experienced you.
Right. But even in those situations where women are saying that, like, I did X, Y, and Z, like, why he's staying, what part are you still playing, right? Because we still play a part. I don't care how small or big, we still play a part. Sometimes we stay in a situation longer than we need to stay in it. Sometimes we pretend or live in denial because we really don't want to face the truth of the matter, that this relationship is expired, right? And that most times we don't want to be by ourselves, right? I'd rather stay here than to be by myself. Well, you're going to continue to get what you got.
Talk about it.
If you continue to stay in, And then one other thing I thought about what you was talking about, a lot of times in relationships, I believe we look at people and we see their potential. So we live for the potential. But we rob ourselves of the here and now.
Yes, like who are they
so
today?
We frustrated with the individual because we only looking at the individual at their potential and not in their current state. So if I can look at him knowing the potential, but being with him in the current state, then I could motivate him. But if I just keep looking like this, he ain't going to, I'm going to get what I got.
And you know where that stemmed from? It come from romanticizing.
Oh, for sure.
Like, me and my ex painted the perfect picture. Like on the phone calls, talking about what we was gonna wear on the holidays, and how we was gonna match, who's gonna cook, who crib it was gonna be at. Like, and it felt so good. But I laughed because, like you said, the here and now was like, dang, she could become everything we just talked about. And even if I gotta assess myself, because I'm gonna talk about myself too after I say this, it's like I had to realize, like, dang, like, in order for her to meet me there, she gotta accelerate her process. I can't do that. That's selfish of me to try to rush her past her years because she was younger than me. Rush her past her years of development to meet me where I'm trying to go at the time I'm trying to get there. But then on my end, I'm like, I keep saying I want to be married, but am I ready? I understand the responsibilities that go into being a good husband. Am I ready for that? Do I have the energy? I'm so in my ambitious years and chasing my purpose and my calling. Am I going to be present in my marriage if I was to get? So I had to realize, I'm like, am I ready to handle all of the responsibilities because a lot of times when we hear the word, when we think about protection and provision, men think that it's like protect you physically and provide financially. No, it's so many different layers to protecting and provide. And I'm talking about you gotta protect you can protect somebody by never putting them in harm's way. To ever even have to display any force of physical force or violence. And as far as them providing for them, it's senses of security that stem way beyond the financial security and stability that you can provide.
Emotionally.
And it's like, am I ready to be that and be completely here? And do I have that, right? So when I was assessing myself, I'm like, I'm not gonna worry too much about where the woman that I'm looking for is at on her journey. let me make sure that I'm ready in my journey. And it took for me now, I know you say don't do that in isolation, and I'm not isolated, but I did take a step back from dating.
But that's a good thing, though. That's
You know what I mean?
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah. Cause I'm like, I don't want to keep doing a pointless thing.
Right.
But by the time this come out, I know I'm gonna be back in the game. But today, as it stands today, you know, I'm more so focused on, and I learned a lot about myself as a man. I feel like men in their development, and I want to speak to the men, and just a lot of us, and I only say us because I don't feel like I'm in this category, but I was underdeveloped as a man. And it's so funny because it wasn't until I started talking to older men that's 45 and 40, I'm like, this man underdeveloped. And he's in his 40s, and you know, you at your 40s, you might be like, this is a grown man, why doesn't he? He never was taught. And a lot of times men step into situations with no knowledge because they never been showed an example of what it should look like, never had mentors, never had people that they could look up to because their ego and their pride got in the way and they wanted to learn the hard way, or they leaned on women because it felt nicer, right? So your aunties and your grandmom and your mom, they're there to coddle you. That's their job. But your dad is going to tell you what it is and how you're supposed to conduct yourself. But so many men grow up fatherless without good male role models, good male figures. So we see a perpetuating cycle of the same behavior. So I look at it now and I just want to say, develop yourself. Understand, like, it's not, when we talk about being a man of our word in the streets, that meant a certain thing, but you got to be a man of your word to your family too. Like, you make little promises to your kids that they don't forget. Just a week ago, I told my daughter, oh, snaps, we didn't get you lunch. I'm going to bring it up to your school. That lunch was 20 minutes late, right? And I did forget, full transparency. But when I remember, let me run to the school. She already was in the nurse crying. My dad forgot. He promised me he was gonna. She was having you don't understand how them little promises can break her. You tell your wife, yo, we going out at 8 o'clock tonight. Oh, dang, something came up. To you, that's not that important. To them, it's very important. And again, I only learned this by assessing, by sitting back, by reflecting. I'm like, wait, my sister said something to me. And, ooh, I was mad. Oh, man, I was mad. She gonna watch this too. Because she don't even know what it did for me, but it grew me. She was like, he always saying he gonna do something and then not do it. I felt super offended because that was cap. I'm like, I haven't did that since I was like 15, 16. But I had to I'm like, wait, for her experience, that was the last time we was living together where I probably wasn't doing what I said. So dang, if I did say, yo, watch my daughter right quick, I'll be back in 20 minutes, and I come back in an hour. If I did say, let me see your car real quick, I'll be back in 20 minutes, and I come back in 2 hours, or, oh, I'm gonna pick the girls up on Friday, and then something come up, oh, dang, I'm busy. She's keeping a tally of me not keeping my word. So I had to realize, oh, if I say I'm gonna do it, I gotta do it. I have to communicate. So that's what I wanna say to the men. These are the little things that we don't, be a man of your word. If you say you're gonna be somewhere by a certain time, say you're gonna do something, you say you're gonna take your girl out, you say you're gonna do something for you, do it. That's the little habit that you have to create to be a man of honor and integrity. It's not just about being a real, you know what I mean? So that's just something that I want to say to the men so we can develop better. And development as a man is not just in your right as individual. It's as a father, it's as a husband, it's as a brother, it's as a son. You got to really ask yourself, how are people experiencing you and what are you doing to get better every single day? You know what I mean? But yeah, I wanted to say that to the men. So I don't know if you got something you want to say to the ladies that may be able to help them within their development.
Be willing to spend time with yourself. So often we want to be connected to a man and looking for them to fulfill us. Find out what motivates you. Find out those things that are important to you, what you really want in a relationship. Spend time working on yourself. Learn how to date yourself. Learn how to send yourself flowers and do all that stuff. Because most time we expect men to do it for us, and we don't do it for ourselves. So let it start with you.
Now, before I get too far away from it, you and your husband got a word that y'all never say.
Oh, we never say divorce. Yeah, we made agreement that we was not going to use the D word. We was going to ride it out until the wheels fall off. And so that's what we've been doing.
I wanted to acknowledge that because that's the type of commitment. Yeah. That's the union. That's the decision. Yeah. Where it's like anything could crumble beneath us, but we not going to allow it to make us crumble.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like so many marriages, like divorce is in the air right now. Seeing all these.
For sure.
Why is that from? Because you and your husband actually do therapy sessions together with couples.
We do.
So talk about like where that's stemming from, if you could.
It stems from a lot, but I think like the most part, what I see in the work that we do is So women enter into it and, you know, like they're frustrated.
Yeah.
And they're frustrated because they feel like they're not being appreciated, you know, they're not being validated. And then they don't feel like the husbands are present, right? And even if they physically present, they're not emotionally present.
Or even, yeah.
Right? And then where the men is like, they don't feel like the efforts that they are given are being noticed, right? And so it's like you got two people coming together and they are trying to figure this thing out, but it's like this Mexican standoff, right? Because I want this over here and I want this over here. And it's not I don't think it's a and or. I mean, you know, all or nothing. I think it's like finding a balance.
The balance for both.
Right, for both. But we got to be willing to let go, right? And we're not always willing to let go. One thing I do say when I do, not necessarily marriage, but like a lot of people are coming, and I think this is just so innovative. And they like 30s, late 20s and 30s couples are coming to see like if this is what they going to do, you know. And I wasn't doing that at 20, going to therapy, trying to figure out, like, are we ready to move towards marriage? And I say, I believe when you come to therapy that you're going to find out a lot. And sometimes reconciliation is not always the outcome.
Yeah, I remember one of our conversations we talked, and one of the things you said to your clients is like, you know, you might not leave here together.
Yes. Because when we are all evolving, right? And so who I was 9 years ago, I'm not the same person.
Yeah.
Right? And if I was in a relationship with somebody that wasn't evolving and he was stagnant, I will outgrow him. But because we are trying to evolve together, and not that we are doing it at the same time and in the same areas, but we both are changing.
Yes.
Right? So we have to pivot.
Yes.
Right? But when you are in a relationship and one person is evolving and the other person is not, I think it's going to be times when that happens, but when it's for the most part,
you outgrow that person. It's inevitable.
no one person can carry a relationship. I don't care what people say.
Nah, I agree wholeheartedly, and a lot of the things that you touched on, even going back to, you know, the men feeling appreciated, women feeling appreciated, but it looking different, right? I want to be appreciated for my efforts, and you want to be appreciated by being loved on. Like, you know, I'm speaking to the women. I said like they want to be loved on.
I'm sorry.
No.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but this really just came up. I believe men, you said this, men are protectors and providers, right? But God requires for men to be loving to their wives, right? This is the scripture, and loving to their wives. But he don't call women to be loving because we love naturally. You know what he called us to be? To be respectful, because we disrespectful by nature.
Yo, it was I don't know it was, so one of my homies had explained something to me where he was like, yo, you can't, the worst, he gave me this crazy bar, but I don't want to even quote it because I don't even remember. But in a nutshell, just don't argue with a woman. You can't win, right? In a nutshell, right? Y'all know exactly what to say. And I was like, now mind you, I already, at times in my life, I thought I was the great debater. Like, just flat out.
Nah.
But I realized, I was like, yo, you really win by just walking away.
Oh yeah.
And because it's like, y'all know, and it's like almost like y'all got it somewhere archived. Like, this is the destruction button, and this might end it all, but if I say this, I'm going to win right now. And, men might try to fight back with that. And it's like, they said y'all cut with the tongue. Y'all can cut with it, but I don't know the quote, and I'm gonna ask him, and I'm gonna probably end up putting this on my Instagram and letting it be known that this is what he said. And but just going back to the respect element, and I feel like that's the breaking point of relationships now.
For sure.
On the men's side is not being men, not handling their responsibilities, and on the opposite end is the lack of respect.
Room room to handle their responsibilities.
No, at all.
That's another thing. Like
no.
you keep saying you want him to be a man, but if
you're
he
not letting
don't
him.
do it in the way you
That you
want
want.
him to do it,
Yes.
or in the time frame you want him to do it, then you take the reins back and then you get mad.
Yes, 100%.
So if he don't do it the way you want to, you still gotta give him the opportunity to be able to do it. And if he mess up, you gotta encourage him, right,
Yes.
and not tear him down.
And it's so funny, right? Because I felt like women do the opposite of what's going to make a man a man.
Oh, for sure.
You cannot coddle a man into becoming a man.
No.
And trying to meet a man's responsibilities by doing what he's supposed to do is not going to make him outdo you, because a man don't feel that type of pressure from a
Right.
woman. He can only feel that type of pressure in the presence of men. And
A perfect example is getting mad because he don't take the trash out, and you start taking the trash out.
He ain't gonna- yeah.
But then you get mad. If the trash pile up in the stink, that's going to be an inconvenience for him,
So
and
he
it's going
had
to
to
make
take
him
it.
want to do it. He got to feel the inconvenience.
the
You
pressure.
can't feel it.
Yeah, and you can't try to place it on them.
No.
Because again, like you gotta understand, a lot of fatherless men are raised by their mom. Your
Right.
mom can't raise you; she could take care of you. Just that simple. So you got a man that's been being taken care of by his
Right.
mom his entire life.
Right.
When he get with you and you say, "Oh, I don't need a man for nothing,"
And how about giving him credit for the man that he became without having a man as a role model?
yeah, and I agree. But the thing is, this is where that is like, and that's why it should be encouraged for a man to get a role model. And a lot of
for
times,
sure.
I noticed that, and I just through observation, women want their man to be the best man, right? When I'm saying like they comparing them to everything and everybody, they friends, and but you're destroying everything in this man's path, because what
Right.
you're doing is you're activating his ego.
Right.
So now you didn't put him up against his friends, his dad, his cousin, his brother. So now he's so ego ironed and so like he's wearing this
Yeah.
big mass ego suit that he don't want to listen and learn from nobody, because he's afraid that you're going to see him as less than, as opposed to encouraging him to get a male role model.
Right.
Y'all know y'all admire things about men. A man, that's what's going to tickle a man's insecurities. Oh shit, my girl seemed fascinated. But when you know yourself as a man, it don't bother you, right?
Right.
So that's when it's like, all right, yo, Dad, you should learn from that person. He's smart. He can teach you something. Not in a way where a man is receiving it like, oh, you're interested in this person, but just in a way where a man feels encouraged when he comes to tell you like, yeah, my mentor told me this, or this guy's a good, not feeling like if he tell you this, he now has to feel like less of a man, so
Right.
now he has to mask it. But going back to what I was saying in terms of, just a man being raised by their mom is like, if you being raised by your mom, she take care of you. You get with a woman, she say she don't need you, and now she's trying to meet you in the middle because she want to prove her independence. That's not going to motivate him to do more. That's actually going to make him feel back into the familiarity of his mom's house. This is why so many men is comfortable living in a woman's place. I don't judge, but I can't fathom it. I'm like, I'm not comfortable here. Like, I can't last a day. I can't, first of all, that security purposes, I'm not comfortable in somebody else's space. But the fact of the matter is, like, that's what makes me me.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's not to say, and even when I said I wanted to stay at home, not even stay at home, like, just I don't want my wife to have to work. It's not to say she can't work. It's just to
Right.
say that's not a requirement for us to live in this marriage. It's more so I would rather her do what I can't do,
Right.
versus do what I'm capable of. But if that's what you want to do,
Right, it's
that
your
should be
choice.
your God-given option and right, as long as it don't destroy the dynamic of what we're building, right? Because if you outside the house 16 hours, I'm outside the house 16 hours, who raising our kids? If you outside the house and then when you come in, you tired, I come in, I'm tired. You thinking I'm about to cater to you, I want you to cater to me. We're not even tending to each other.
true.
I'm
That's
damn
true.
near, and people probably laugh at me, but I understand the whole salary thing. I will pay my wife a salary to do what she wants with her life. To get away from me, because I got stuff that I want to do. Have your life, go to spin classes, and go get you one of them buff personal trainers. I don't care. Don't nag me, right? But at the same time, show up in the areas where I can't. I always say, why are y'all trying to push this agenda of men being stay-at-home husbands? That's not, let's be realistic. First of all, if there's no food in the crib, there's nothing I can do for this baby.
Right.
You have the resources on your body to feed this child for a couple months, from 0 until like 18 months. I don't know, somebody could correct me. I'm just throwing numbers out there, but I could do nothing. Why would you want to try? I could work with my hands and do, that's something I can do and I would never complain. So it's like, if you're going to complain about working, then let me handle that, because I'll take on that stress. But I can't take care of this baby without no resources, and you have them naturally. So I just think it's certain things, I don't believe in the whole roles thing, but it's just certain things men can't do, and it's certain things that women can do. And I feel like Why not build up in the areas in which then with your extra time, I understand, all right, I'm off, I got the baby.
Right.
Go outside, go do your thing.
I think you have to be comfortable and figure it out for the couple, you know, that individual couple, because I think we realized early on that my husband is good at some things and some things I'm better at, and it's not like a sexist, you know, kind of role. You know, it's like really figuring out that, you know what, you better at the money than I'm better at the money.
Yes.
Right? No, I'm gonna need you to go shopping because every time I go shopping, I forget X, Y, and Z. But it may be times that the roles have to be reversed. But for the most part, you know, the person who functions better in that role, let them do that role.
And it's so funny to me because I see a lot on social media, like men they got these little challenges where men go to the shopping, like to the market, and like they fuck up, right? And excuse my language, I'm not gonna curse a lot, but I've been telling myself this is my platform. I don't care. I'm just being transparent. But men go to the market and they fuck up, and women like, hey, men are so dumb, and I be like, why are y'all assessing our IQ to things that we don't give a shit about?
Or that y'all don't do regularly.
But don't do regularly. We never was taught it, and we don't care about it.
Right.
A man was taught. That's like me. Like, you don't know how to change a tire. You're dumb. It's like you don't know how to control your emotions. You're weak.
Right.
It's like nah. Don't weaponize the thing because that wasn't where we was raised in. Now, fortunately enough for me, my mom taught me survival. So within survival, I learned how to cook, clean, do my own laundry. So those things I can do, right? But that's still not something I went through life having to do. It was almost like, all right, I provide the foundation, you're gonna set it. Teamwork. But I feel like my new mindset is I want a traditional woman in the house, but she can be modern in the world. So if she want to be a business owner and all that, that's cool. Like, I'm not against your dreams. But when you come in here, because I can't come in here as the wolf. I gotta come in here as Naeem.
No, that's fair.
You know what I mean? So that's my mindset.
Because home is a safe haven,
yes.
Right? So when you do all that you do out in the world, you want to be able to come home and not feel all of that you feel in the world. So I think it's the woman's job to set the atmosphere, right? And it's the man's job to set the temperature. So however he comes in.
Ooh, the tone. Like that's a bar.
Yeah. I don't know what that means, but okay.
It mean like you said, it's like a gym. It was like good. It's a quotable.
Okay.
We're gonna put that on the T-shirt.
So yeah.
Yeah, but all right. So let's do this, right? Because I feel like me and you, we could talk for hours. I wanna before I land a plane, I'm gonna ask a question and you have to ask a question.
Oh, okay.
So my question for you is, what are 5 things somebody can do to do the work? And we know that healing is a journey, so I won't say to heal themselves, but just start the journey from within.
I think first connecting with some positive people. Sometimes our circle can be toxic or contaminant. Yes, environment, right. People don't realize this, but exercise actually really helps you out a whole lot, and you get so many benefits from it. But I know when I'm frustrated and I take a walk, or if I'm frustrated and instead of eating, I work out, my mind is always, better. Try meditating. And it's different forms of meditation. I can't do guided meditation because I don't like people talking to me while I'm trying to be still. But there's guided meditations, there relaxing music. Some people are into essential oils and crystals. Like, there's a lot of things that people can do. So that's 3. Get an accountability partner. Somebody that will hold you accountable. Nobody that you know is going to tell you what you want to hear. Somebody that you know, somebody that has more sunsets and sunrises than you. So if you're 30, try getting somebody who's 40 because they have a little bit more life experience to you. And the 5th one, I want you to change how you talk to yourself.
Powerful.
No negative talking to yourself. Only positivity.
So let's just backtrack. We got environment, we have exercise, we got meditation and mindfulness, we have accountability partner, and then last but not least, we got be impeccable with your word, no negative self-talk. So there you have it, and now let's swing it. I allow you the opportunity and the space to act, and you can't ship me my same question back.
Which question did you ask me so I make sure?
5 things that somebody can do the work.
What's one thing that you would want to tell a young man who had 1 foot in and 1 foot out. 1 foot in the world and the game.
That's so crazy. That's funny. That's a good question. Because I had 1 foot in, 1 foot out for so many years. I think is being honest with yourself and making a decision. And what I mean by making a decision, it's funny. My dad said this to me, and we ain't had that many conversations, but he said a lot in this conversation. He said you can't. He said one thing that you got to look at with decisions is like with women, y'all can't be halfway pregnant. You either all the way pregnant or you're not pregnant at all. So you can't. There's no way it's a half baby in there. It's either a baby in there or it's not a baby in there. And that he equated that to making a decision where it's like you either in or you out. And that's what I'll say. And if you in, then you gotta accept what come with that. You know, the consequences, you know, jail, you know, death, losing people, causing harm to the people you love, both indirectly and directly. And just, you know, whatever the circumstances could be. But I personally would just advise, I think that's a selfish decision. But if that's your decision, make it and stand on it. Be able to take what come with it. Don't fold on it. Don't try to go back on it. Understand that you made that choice, and that's what it is. And if you make the choice to go away from it, stand on that as well. It'll come with some resistance. It's going to come with people thinking that you're giving up on them. It's going to come with people not understanding that you're going to feel alienated in the world because you're coming from a world that operates a certain way and the rest of the world don't. So it's like you have to find your place in that new world and figure out what your identity is going to be, because even myself, that's the thing that I struggle with the most. Like, these people don't understand my background, but these people don't understand my future. So it's like, how do I find myself in this median point of trying to enter this new world without bringing my background here, but at the same time not losing touch with who I was. So just make a decision, and when you make that decision, stand on it and be able to say, same way you would make the decision to say, you know what, life or death, I'm here. You got to say the same thing over here, life or death, I'm over here, and this is what I want to do. So get around people that's doing different stuff than what you're familiar with. Be comfortable being uncomfortable. Get a mentor. Hang around the people that you might think weird. You play the game friends, your sports friends, and don't bring that negativity around them. Don't go around them trying to be who you is when you around the other people. Be who, what in Rome, do as the Romans do. I'm not telling you to be a follower, but adapt to the culture so that you can elevate who you are within yourself. Because I know a lot of your young boys out there don't want to be in a situation y'all in, but y'all just feel like y'all don't have no other option. So I'm giving you an option. Find that friend that does everything that you would like to do with this foot, and take this foot and put this foot and then put one in front of the other until you walk yourself out of the streets. And that's where I'm going to leave it. But this was an amazing conversation. I want to give you your flowers. You know, we gave you flowers,
Yes.
so we don't have them on camera. We could probably cut to the clip of us giving Miss Rhonda her flowers. But listen, we appreciate you. First of all, your growth is amazing. Thank you for sharing that for that person that might be where you were 20 years ago, and being able to start from a woman that went to prison to a woman that's now married and successful and running her own practice. Thank you for the work that you do for the community and being representation of what doing the work look like, and being a representation of, I could talk to her because she looked like me and I can feel safe and I feel comfortable. And thank you for the work you do for the school district, because them kids need it. Shout out to your husband for introducing us. And then you brought me into the project, and we've been able to change some of their lives. So I'm grateful for that opportunity. And like I said, I get to work with you up close, so I know how much. And one thing I'll say about you is your passion over everything, to the point where I got to stop you. I'm your accountability partner, Ms. Rhonda. I know you want to, but we can't. You can't do everybody for free.
I know.
You know what I mean? But she really want to help people go through their journey and actually find healing and help. So I just want to commend you for that. You know, we locked in forever. And yeah, I landed there. Make sure y'all let them know where to follow you and stuff.
Y'all can follow me on Instagram at JourneyFromWithin21. But also on Thursday night, October the 13th, I'm having an open house.
So this is gonna be way later than that. So, but it's every second. No, it's fine. But it's every other Thursday.
Oh, it is? I thought it was once a month. You said
So it's once a month. Sorry.
Yeah.
So whatever the Thursday is, it'll be on her page.
Okay.
We coordinate that, but this will be out way beyond. We looking at November for this.
Good. In November, the third Thursday in November.
Third Thursday in November.
It's an open house.
And then the third Thursday in December, and so forth.
Yes.
So every third Thursday.
Every third Thursday.
Every third Thursday.
How about that?
Yeah, so that's that. Make sure you follow her at Journey From Within 21. But don't go nowhere, because when we come back, y'all going to be listening to Ask Wolf. So we see y'all back shortly, and I hope y'all enjoyed this conversation.
Bye, y'all.
Was there ever a point in your life where you let outside expectations
Yeah, for sure. Just recently, when I released Cheating is Not Cheating, I became the author. And within becoming an author, people started to refer to me as like a relationship expert or a guru. And I never referred to myself as an expert or a guru, just always a high performing student, someone that seeks wisdom, knowledge, and spread information as I get it. But as I started to get recognized for my level of intellect and my ability to help people understand themselves and the things that I explain, I started to actually subconsciously maneuver in this way to where I felt like I had this brand to protect, and I never wanted to be that guy with a brand. Like, I always wanted to be myself. I never wanted to feel like, oh, I can't say this or I can't do that or they gonna think I'm not. And I felt like subconsciously I started to try to protect the brand. And it affected me mentally. Even still to this day, I'm still recovering from it, because even when going into dating and relationships, I said, I wrote this book. I got to get it right because I got to show people that I practice what I preach. And I realized, like, man, fuck y'all. I'm human. You know what I mean? Have some grace with me. I never said be perfect. I said be yourself. And that's what I've been working actively towards, getting back to being myself, because I got caught up in my success of Cheating is Not Cheating and everything that followed, the growing platform, all of the accolades and the notoriety that was coming with it. And I thought that, I had to move in that. But now I look at it like, yeah, I wrote the book. And, it was because of the grace of God that he instilled and empowered me as the person to do it, right? But I'm not walking with that. That's something that I've done and I'm going to do more, but I'm always going to be me. And I'm grateful for getting back to that point now, even being willing to curse on my platform. Once I used to throw this suit on, I was like, oh, I can't, I got to talk like that. And I got to be professional. Man, fuck that. I'm real. And I know I don't have to curse. I'm very well spoken, but at the same time, I got to be me. I'm no longer being a prisoner to my platform. So I'm not going to allow y'all to tell me who to be by who y'all want me to show up as. I'm going to be me, and if y'all going to like it or y'all not. And I'm going to always be a good person. But that don't mean I'm always going to be a nice person. I'm always going to have good intentions, but that don't always mean you're going to like how I carry myself or what I do or the decisions I make. But I'm always going to be real, and I'm always going to be authentic. The wolf has spoken.